Hey, it's PointyStarVio here, and we're going to be doing a Charmer deck profile. I know it's been a while, but I've been recently interested in some of the new cards that have been releasing, and just figured that I could jump back into it like I used to. This will be a little bit different. This deck profile will work for both formats, being the current one as well as the something that they were calling like traditional or something of that sort on DuelBook. But besides that, this deck should work in either format, even with the current link rules. I just currently am not running links because I don't really enjoy them that much, to be honest. So, we've changed how our familiar lineup works. We have 2 copies of Wind, because she's Wind, 2 copies of Araya, because she's Water, 2 copies of Hita, because she's Fire, 2 copies of Lena, because she's Light. She's the newest one. She was not out when I did the profile last, and I was surprised to see that she was card that had released. 2 copies of Dark, because he is Dark. The reason why the attributes matters because we're running 3 copies of Unpossessed. Whenever any minion dies, you can summon a monster, a spellcaster with 1500 defense with a different attribute. So we're running all of them because they work similarly to gadgets, I guess you could say. This deck, while it is a Charmer deck, I've been referring it to as HTC because it has several different cores to it. The next part being Trap Tricks. 3 copies of Dianea. When normal summoned, you can special summon a Trap Tricks from your graveyard. Mantis, this one was also new. This card does, when it's normal summoned, you can search for a Trap Tricks monster, so it's pretty awesome. 3 copies of Murmillo. Same thing, you normal summon it, search for a trap card. And then 2 Atrax and a Nephthys. You could easily drop this out. You could even drop all 3 of these last ones if you didn't want them to really tighten down the deck. This is a 60 card deck because I really like the options that it allows you to have, just with how many different cards you can run. And I've had a lot of fun running Atrax, being able to hold back your traps, and then Nephthys because she just does a lot. And she's also a cute card, so you know. We've got 3 copies of Bottomless because it was the greatest. It's still pretty good. It still banishes after they die, and 1500 is still a decent stat, hitting most big cards that are summoned. Running 1 copy of Trap Hole of Spikes because I think it's really nice, being able to blow up cards, and running 1 copy of the Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare, and we're also running 2 copies of Space Time, or Time Space, I guess. And you could really run anything else. There's a whole bunch of different Trap Tricks, Trap Hole cards. You could run those instead. There's some new ones coming out, like there's Floodgate that's already out, and a few others. But I just have been really enjoying that for the Trap Tricks portion. I'm running Hands. I don't know if people have been using them in a while, but I think that they're really good in a deck like this, even though you can only have 1 extra deck monster unless you start running some of those link cards, as well as in the other format where you can have multiple extra deck monsters. It's just this card does a lot of work. It always keeps an extra card on the field. It lets you pop targets that are bothering you, and it lets you just have workarounds. And they're light, or they're water and fire, so the other Trap Tricks were earth. So we don't really have too many of any specific attribute besides all the earth over in Trap Tricks. We're running this Clown Engine still. This could easily be removed if you were playing in the link format. At the same time, it always gives you cards that you can just throw on the field to kill for links. So I think that this would still be good then. Or the Clown, you know what that does when it dies, comes back. Hat Tricker I'm running 2 of as well because you can just throw it on the field. And since Damage Juggler's at 1, we're only running 1. 2 copies of Gigabyte because when you have a spellcaster out, which is all of these guys and all of the Charmers, you can just throw him on the field, as well as he's a reptile, so he's searchable by Kofti. And we're running 1 copy of Archfiend, Eater of Nefariousness because you can throw it to the graveyard with Foolish Burial, as well as it can just be special summoned if you have a spellcaster, and while it's in the graveyard, it can just eat a minion to summon it, which triggers this card, and it also triggers this card, allowing you to just constantly be fueling cards onto the field and the graveyard, just activating effects, and it's pretty good. Once again, running this card, Heroic Challenger 1000 Blades doesn't work as well without the Lavalval chain, but at the same time it still does quite a bit. It lets you just summon a monster out for free if you take damage, as well as it works with the Clown Engine. You do not have to run this card, but I thought it was pretty nice. Because it's a 60 card deck, I'm running 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Because banishing 10, drawing 2, you're still going to have a whole bunch of options still left in your deck, and I just don't like it otherwise, because I understand why it's good, but it just too much more risk is associated. Running 2 Space Typhoon. I know everybody's using that Twin Twister now, or I have it over here. It's called Cosmic Cyclone, I think it is a card everybody's using. But I old school keep running this card because it's nice, but at the same time I could see you easily cycling those in, especially because you have so many cards that do well in the graveyard that it doesn't matter if you discard. This is a new addition, Monster Slots. It's a really interesting card. If you don't know what it does, it says target a monster you control and a monster in your graveyard that have the same level, banish the one in the graveyard, and draw a card, and if it's level 4 you can special summon it. With as many level 4 monsters in this deck, this card becomes great, and you're not going to do much with the cards in the graveyard besides the Clowns, Thousand Blade, and Archfiend Eater Nefariousness, so being able to just play this card, get rid of that garbage because you don't even need it, and just get a free draw for no apparent reason, as well as just special summoning is good. I'm also running 2 double summon as another way to summon cards. You don't need this card, but I think it's been nice. It fixes some of the more brick-like hands where you have some of these cards that can't be special summoned, but at the same time the deck does a really good job of outlasting the opponent. And for 1-ups, we're running Monster Reborn, we're running Raigeki, we're running Book of Moon, Mind Control, and Foolish Burial. You do not have to run the Mind Control. I originally, when I was doing testing, had 3 of this because I was like excited that it was a 3, but then I realized you can't, like, even if you take certain cards, it doesn't really matter because a bunch of cards aren't level 4 monsters that you can deal with, and you end up just grabbing a big target out of your way so that way you can attack around it most of the time. Extra deck wise, we're running an Abyss Dweller, a Castel, a Direwolf, Cowboy. Cowboy's my one of my signature cards there. Samurai. Gaga Samurai is great because it lets you swing twice with some of those weaker things, just pulling them off the field. Silent Honor Arc, Ragnazero, Utopia. I'm running this for 2 reasons. One, it's just kind of a fun card, but there is another card that I currently don't have, which allows you to just kind of throw a minion on it and attack over big beaters without having to worry too much about certain cards. A card that I've been running in as well is the crab, which does the same thing as the upgraded Utopia. Black Ship of Corn because nostalgia, Rhapsodian Berserk, Heartland Draco, a second Castel. It's back here because you don't have to run 2. Kofti because searching is great, being able to just pull that one card out of the deck. And the reason why these 2 are just hummings is the idea is that you can grab any other card that isn't on here, like the Tornado Dragon and such, and just put them in here, and we have the open slots because there's just a whole bunch of personal text that you could be running. I would definitely suggest running the Tornado Dragon. Other cards that I could suggest you to play, Cosmic Cyclone is good. Soul Charge is great because you have a whole bunch of big cards that you can drop. You can run more of this because of consistency. I have a bunch of these Mirror Force cards in here that you could run. Any of them really are good in this kind of deck. Torrential Tribute because it doesn't matter if your stuff dies, you're going to keep your advantage. Compulse and the Solemn Duo, if you can fit them in there, go right ahead. There's a bunch of cards that be cut. And Mind Crush is also a great card just because being able to pop cards out of your opponent's hand with how much searching happens is pretty good, I'd say. That is the Charmer deck. I would suggest making a few changes for your own personal play styles, but it's been a lot of fun playing and doing stuff. I have a Ghost Rick deck in the works and a few other things, as well as there's a lot of content I'd like to start uploading that isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a lot of things that I've really gotten into, and this is a platform that I feel like I built a community that if you guys are still around, I'd like to share some of that interesting, fun stuff. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day.